person that she talked to. That composite was put out, and a parole officer called the Huntington Beach Police Department and said that looked like a former Rodney Alcala. At that time, who Alcala was, in his photograph, for a striking resemblance to the composite.
After the investigator in the case goes home and is watching TV, and the dating game episode from is now airing on his television.
Jim Lang from the dating game introduces Bachelor.
Please welcome Rodney.
The detective immediately started calling the police department, trying to get a hold of the sergeants and supervisors to let them know that he had just seen Rodney Alcala on TV.
And the FBI called me, us, Chuck Barris Productions, and wanted to know all about it.
And we sat down with them and gave them a copy of the form that he had filled out. The show was instrumental in having identified him to the police.
After getting him identified, they located him living at his mother's house in Monterey, California, and they began round-the-clock surveillance, trying to find out his habits and patterns.
They started digging finding out about his conviction for kidnapping the 8-year-old in Hollywood in 1968. Finding about another girl he kidnapped in Huntington Beach in 1975. They started developing more information on him.
They'd be bored.
In the neighborhood, they find a business that was a bike shop that somebody left a bike that appears to have been the bike that was borrowed. They believe sold. A lot of circumstantial stuff is being developed.
They're checking here. He's real boring. They'd be saying, "Wow, he's real boring." Right? My life's boring.
Huh?
My life's boring.
What?
They tracking me. They think my life be real boring. They think.
You like boring things? Is that what you say?
No, I think my life is boring. Someone's tracking me, right? Is police tracking me?
No.
Wow, his life is real boring. Goes to the diner every morning. Goes live.
Yeah. So you wouldn't be a killer?
Yeah. So I think I'm perfect for it.
Because you wouldn't.
Yep. Tracking me down. Find okay. He has nothing to do. Hangs out the local shops, so it's not him.
Police show up to Alcala's mother's house to arrest him in the death of Robin Samso.
He was arrested and taken to the Huntington Beach Police Department for an interview.
This character just sits to believe how girls did something they didn't do. At his house, they find photographs of kids in various stages of dress. But nothing that ties him to Robin Samso's disappearance.
During the course of the search warrant, one of the sergeants at the house saw a receipt for a storage locker out of King County, Washington, in Alcala's name. The receipt wasn't on the search warrant, so he didn't take it. However, he did write down all of the information on it in his notebook. Later, at the Huntington Beach Police Department, during the course of his interview, Alcala asked if he could speak with his sister, who was at the police department. Detectives allowed them to converse with each other, them not knowing that it was still being recorded and monitored. Rodney said to his sister, at least they don't know about the storage locker, at which time bells went off in the sergeant's head, and he pulled out his notebook and gave the information to the investigation team.
Then they discovered that Rodney drove to Seattle and rented that storage locker a couple days after the murder.
The very next day, 2 detectives were on the plane to the state of Washington to obtain a search.
That's a long ass. That's a long ass drive.
He might have sent his sister.
On the storage facility.
That's a long ass.
And recover many rolls of undeveloped film and many
Okay, so
photographs
they did get that.
of potential victims that Rodney may have targeted.
They found over 1,000 pictures of young girls and boys that were in explicit and sexually provocative poses, and a lot of them were naked.
They found a few other items, including a pouch that had jewelry. That jewelry included earrings, which became extremely important.
And remember, he had taken most of
They
the
wouldn't have
earrings
DNA back
from
then.
his
They did. They just didn't really work that well.
jewelry box.
DNA wasn't good until the 90s.
If we could prove it,
Yes.
companies that would remind Rodney
Robin Samso's mother was able to identify 2 gold block earrings as earrings that Robin had borrowed from her mother and was wearing the day she disappeared.
Trophy often taken so that the offender can relive the homicide, relive the sexual assault. And it's a reminder to them what happened.
disbelieve them if you want, but Rodney wanted to remember.
Earrings were never recovered until they were recovered in that storage locker in that pouch. Those became a very significant piece of evidence. Nearly a year after Robin Samso was found murdered, Ronnie Alcala was trial, and every seat in the courthouse was taken.
2 mothers in the gallery.
The one that we were watching, the first one,
Yeah. Yeah.
he died in 2021, or 21,
Marianne Fraser.
yeah, he died in 2021.
She's only lap with her hand inside, and that hand is clutching a gun. She is ready to pull that gun out, point it at Ronnie Alcala, and pull the trigger so that he can never do this to another child ever again.
And then the
At
other
one point,
guy,
She began to reach in her purse.
I
She felt
watched.
Robin's hand touch hers. And could smell Robin's shampoo and knew that it wasn't right and that Robin wouldn't want it.
The trial lasted 2.5 months, and on April 30th, the jury reached a decision.
They came with the verdict of guilty, and in the penalty phase, they sentenced him to death.
I think that his strategy within the class which has strategy, and I think the case will be reversed on appeal.
Will Ronnie Alcala ever be put to death in your estimation?
Not I can have anything to do with it.
After sentence round after was taken to the Senate, where he was put to.
But shortly after that, that case was reversed on appeal. In 1984, the California Supreme Court overturned the conviction in Alcala's case because they argued that the trial judge should not have allowed for the jury to hear about his previous child rape and kidnapping convictions.
Just can't believe that we have to be punished. He's got nothing to do with the game. All we have to do is be destroyed and be go down a little bit further. I don't know if we can, really.
They had to retry the case in front of a new jury. A new jury convicted him again and sentenced him to death again. Ronnie Alcala sat on death row for 23 years, going through numerous appeals. And again, his case was overturned on appeal for the second time. This time it was because of evidence that the judge ruled Alcala should have been allowed to present.
Every time this happens, it's like losing Robin all over again. You know? I lost a child, but there's nothing. Nothing that hurts like that. Nothing.
Now we had to come back after 30 years and present the evidence a new time in the Robin Samso case.
It's all great too. Somebody needs to leak in the jailhouse what he did.
While Ronnie Alcala was awaiting his third trial in the Robin Samso case, forensic science began gaining on him. Police in California and New York were looking into cold cases during the time that Alcala was active in the 1970s.
When we were looking at the Hoover and Curley homicides, and we were going through the boxes, John Berger's name in there, and we're like, who's this guy? Why would they talk to him? And then we looked into him, and we knew his name was really Rodney Alcala.
What we had that was
The most probative was the fingerprint for Miss Crilly's murder on that letter. We also had evidence from her breast.
Detectives actually visited Rodney Alcala in prison just so that they could obtain his dental impression for comparison.
The dentist, he was able to match up her bite marks to that imprint exactly. We also had gotten a fingerprint card from them of his prints. And very good latent print examiner detective told us, hey, that's your guy, that's his print, that's on that envelope. With Miss Hova, we really had no evidence other than what was in her apartment.
In her calendar, she had written down John Berger, photographer. At this point, they also now know that John Berger was Rodney Alcala.
There were other interviews that put him in place, even in 77, that put him with Miss Hoover. So we're just connecting the dots.
While authorities in New York were building their case, the third trial for Robin Samso's murder was ramping up in California. About to have their own breakthrough. When Matt Murphy and I were preparing to try the Robin Samso case for the third
Boy, he's
trial,
big.
DNA technology caught up with Rodney Alcala's crimes.
Thanks to the DNA forensic technology advancements, Rodney Alcala was attached
Great.
to 4 other murders.
We started one by one analyzing
Yeah, I'm live right now.
murder cases and showing that Rodney Alcala's semen was
Big.
found
Big
in
rim.
the bodies of each of the LA victims of Georgia Wickstead.
But no one's watching right now, so it doesn't really matter. No one's watching. See? Camera's off.
Being indicted
Put the camera back on now.
all 5 murders at the same time.
2010,
Damn.
11,
I was able to
2010.
attend the trial in Orange County.
Both.
Gina Satriano and
Still
Matt
doing
Murphy
it.
were
Yeah.
the district attorneys representing the victims. Representing the defendant was Rodney Alcala.
Police searched my house, and at my house, they didn't find anything that connected me to Robin Samso.
They say a lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client. That's the way it went.
When you think about what I said, and if I was willfully trying to mislead somebody, you all or anybody, I don't think we'll be able to do that.
Rodney Alcala hardly cross-examined anybody with respect to the evidence in the LA case and ignored those victims as if they weren't even important. He focused on the Robin Samso murder.
So these are the facts, the Samso case.
We felt very strong about the evidence in our case, being able to present the jury with a full picture of Rodney Alcala's crimes.
He got her